Howdy everyone, it's Sam. Welcome back to Wobble Enjoy Sports. If you're new around here, I hope I can get you to consider to like the content and subscribe to the channel. But if you are a regular around these here parts, thank you very much for the continuous support. Let's have a look at the new kids' second season fixture, the Dolphins. It starts tomorrow, the preseason challenge. Week 1, they are hosting the Titans up at the Sunshine Coast. 1 week later, on the Saturday, they travel across the ditch to take on the Warriors at Go Media Stadium. The Titans and the Warriors are what lay ahead for the Redcliffe Dolphins. In my overlooking fixtures, I like to look at everybody's fixtures in blocks of 5. So the season proper for the Dolphins is as follows for their first 5 games. They have back-to-back home games to start off 2024. Game number 1, Sunday, Channel 9 afternoon fixture at Suncorp Stadium, the only Sunday game for round 1, the Dolphins versus the North Queensland Cowboys, an absolute beauty to get things kick-started. Round number 2, they're at their spiritual venue, their home in Redcliffe, KO Stadium it is affectionately known as these days, and they host the St George Illawarra Dragons for a Sunday twilight fixture. They then have their first bye for 2024 in round number 3. So that's a beautiful way for the Dolphins to start their season. Even though there is a trip to New Zealand, that's a great way to start the year for them. Round number 4, they technically have their first away game for the home and away regular season. And it's just a quick one down the road, down the M1. Saturday night football at Seabus Super Stadium. They take on the Gold Coast Titans. And to round out their first section for 2024, they host the West Tigers on Saturday night football at Suncorp Stadium this time. So they do not leave the state of Queensland at all for the first 5 weeks of 2024. But there is that trip across the ditch to New Zealand in the preseason challenge. But other than that, man, that's a really beautiful way to start the year. I know the Cowboys, I believe the Cowboys will be a firm test, and the away game against the Titans seems to bring out the closeness and a bit of pepper in each of the teams, but they should be 3-1. They really should be 3-1 at the end of 5 rounds in 2024. Section 2 of 2024 starts with another game at Suncorp Stadium. Back-to-back weeks, they're at the venue, but this time they are the away side. It's the battle for Brisbane, number 3. Broncos versus Dolphins, Friday night football, Channel 9. Channel 9, man, that's so good. And then round number 7, they have a very special trip to Teo Stadium in Darwin. They are the away side to take on the Parramatta Eels. Again, Channel 9, Friday night footy. So back-to-back away games technically, but a big trip to Darwin awaits in round 7 for the first time in their history. Round number 8, they're once again back at Suncorp for a home game. They host the Newcastle Knights on a Sunday, 2 p.m. kickoff, so that's about an 8-9 day break between games for the Dolphins. Round number 9, they hop on the plane again. They go all the way up north to take on the Cowboys, and that's the double done against the Cowboys for 2024. That is a Saturday night football game up at QCB Stadium. And to round out their second section for 2024, home game at Suncorp, Thursday night football. So it's a short-ish turnaround for the Dolphins, playing on the Saturday night in Townsville, and then they host the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles for Thursday night football at Suncorp Stadium. And their one and only encounter against each other last year resulted in Manly absolutely pumping the Dolphins to the tune of something like a 58-18. As far as strength of opposition goes, you look at the Broncos and you look at the Cowboys. But again, this period here, I think, can garner a 3-2 record for the Dolphins, or at least it should. Like everybody else I've looked at, Section 3 for 2024 starts with Magic Round, and for the second time at Suncorp this season already, the Tigers and the Dolphins meet at the venue in the very last game of the Magic Round weekend. Tigers have been selected to have their home game at Suncorp, and that is a Sunday 6:30 p.m. kickoff up at Suncorp Stadium, and the Tigers seem to grow a leg every time they play at Suncorp as well, just quietly. Round number 12, the Dolphins have their second trip to New Zealand. They take on the Warriors on a Sunday afternoon game, a Channel 9 game, Warriors and Dolphins out at Go Media Stadium. In round 13, they have an Origin-affected game against the Canberra Raiders at their spiritual home ground of KO Stadium in Redcliffe, Saturday night footy. They have their second bye in round number 14, and to close out their third section for 2024, their first ever trip to PointsBet Stadium, their first ever trip to Shark Park. Sharks, Dolphins for Thursday night football on Channel 9. Strength of opposition once again is nice for the Dolphins. There is the big trip to New Zealand, but then it's back home at KO Stadium and followed up by a bye. Again, they should be either be bang on equal for wins and losses, or they should be above the average for sure. It'd be disappointing if they go something like it would be very disappointing if they go something like a 1-3 in this part, but I don't think that's going to be the case. Phase number 4, they host the Melbourne Storm at Suncorp Stadium for a Friday night Channel 9 game. 1 week later, well actually on the Sunday, so about 8 or 9 days later, they travel down to Cogra for the first time in their history to take on the Dragons, Sunday 2 p.m, so that's a nice 8 or 9 day turnaround. And then they have their third and final bye. So it's not the earliest, but it's one of the more earlier times where a team has burnt through all of their byes. So their final bye comes in the first week of July. Round number 19, they play on Thursday night footy out at KO Stadium once more. I believe this will be the final time they play at their spiritual home ground. Thursday night footy against the South Sydney Rabbitohs. You would imagine that it will be absolutely chock-a-block and standing room only for something like that. And then in round number 20, the big game awaits them. They travel to Penrith for the first time in their history to take on the Panthers Sunday 2 p.m, and that's after having a good 9-day rest to amp themselves up for this game. Origin is right in the thick of this phase 4, and that is probably the most difficult part of their season to date. They will have Origin representatives. They're taking on teams that will have Origin representatives. Besides the away game at Dragons, down at Cochra against the Dragons, they're all going to be a flip of the coin, especially that game against the Penrith Panthers, because I reckon that's going to be the time where all the players from Origin duties they're all done with it, and it's going to be all systems go for the run to the finals. And speaking of the run to the finals, if the Dolphins are to make the top 8 for 2024, from round 21 through to 27, they do not have a bye. This is how it looks like their run to the finals. Round 21, they're up at Suncorp. They host the Gold Coast Titans on a Sunday Channel 9 game. As a matter of fact, it's technically the first of 3 straight home games, but the second home game they've elected to take all the way over to HBF Park in Perth, Western Australia. They will take on the eastern suburbs. Friday night football, Channel 9 game. It'll be interesting to see how the ratings go for that one. Round 23, they play on the Sunday, so it gives them plenty of time to rest. They play on the Friday night in Perth. Their next game is at home at Suncorp against the Warriors, Sunday 2 p.m. Round number 24, they have another fruity travel, a trip up to Salter Oval in Bundaberg, Saturday 3 p.m. against the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. They are the away team on this occasion. Round number 25, they have their first ever trip down to Amy Park in Melbourne, Saturday 5:30 p.m. So that is back-to-back away games technically, but that is a full month where they play at a different venue once a week for 4 straight weeks. And then finally, they're back at Suncorp Stadium in round number 26. They are the home team. They host the Broncos Saturday twilight fixture. And then to round out their season, round 27, they are away. They play in the last game of the home and away regular season down at McDonald Jones Stadium, the Knights versus the Dolphins, for a Channel 9 Sunday afternoon affair. So from round 21 through to round 27, they have 1, 2, 3 games at Suncorp Stadium. Technically they got 4, but they've elected to choose one of their home venues to be Perth for 2024. It's lucky that the Dogs sort of even that out by taking a home game of theirs to Bundaberg for the Dolphins to be the away side. So that is a better luxury for the Dolphins. Strength of opposition, I'd say it's in between phase 4 and phase 5, the run to the finals, where things get very, very tricky for the Dolphins. From round 19 through until round 23, they take on about 4 of 5 that made the top 8 last season. The Roosters, the Warriors, the Panthers away from home in South Sydney. The Titans, that's a Queensland derby, so they'll be up for it. And then it's rounded out with Storm away, Broncos at home, and Knights away. And the Bulldogs have, luckily for them, for the Dolphins, taking a home game up to Queensland. So they're pretty much taking on the top 8 to finish their year, except for the Bulldogs and the Titans. And as I said, the Titans in a Queensland derby could produce anything. The Bulldogs did defeat the Dolphins last year at Salter Oval in Bundaberg. So that is a tough run to the finals where they take on just about every team that made the top 8 for 2024. That has me pause about their top 8 aspirations, because I think their first half of the year, their draw is really solid for them. It's really quite kind, but then it gets really intense, doesn't it, in that second half. Only a couple more teams to go. Thank you very much for your support. Have a very nice weekend. Hope you're enjoying the footy. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you, take care, and adios.